This is the Floridaville. Get to know the people behind the Florida names you know. I'm your host, Rosanna Catalano. On this episode, we get to know Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez, a state legislator newly elected to District 39. She has spent her career advocating on behalf of the people of South Florida, both as a professional and as a public servant. We are recording remotely today. I'm in my home in Tallahassee, and Senator Rodriguez is speaking to us from her home in South Florida, where I believe her children are also home from school. Welcome to the show, Senator.
Thank you so much, Rosanna, for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
You represent District 39 in the Florida Senate. Can you share with us what you represent?
Yes, Senate District 39 is probably one of the largest Senate districts geographically. It goes all the way from Doral, which is on the northern side of the district, and encompasses most of western Miami-Dade County. And that includes some unincorporated portions of Miami-Dade, like Westchester, out in the Redlands, as well as the city of Sweetwater. And then it picks up South Dade, all of the South Dade area, with other unincorporated areas like Naranja and Perrine and Goulds. And then has the city of Homestead, city of Florida City, and then all of Monroe County, which has various municipalities as well, going all the way down to Key West. So it is quite interesting to drive throughout the district, seeing the different aspects, the diversity of Senate District 39. And again, it is just such an honor and a privilege to serve in this new capacity in the state legislature.
We are so excited to have you. So we have new leadership in the House and Senate this year. What committees will you be serving on for the 2021 session? And tell us the types of issues that you'll be dealing with in each committee.
Well, just this week, Senate President Wilton Simpson announced all the new chairmanships and vice chairmanships for all the committees. I'm honored to be serving as the chairman of the Finance and Tax Committee. And I am also serving as the vice chairman of the Healthcare Appropriations Committee. Both are very significant, very important. And to be quite honest, as a freshman senator, I could not believe my eyes when I saw the appointments that I received. So I am just completely surprised, and but also up for the task. So I look forward to meeting with the committee staff members in the near future just to learn more about some of these topics. Although I feel like I'm pretty familiar with both. But this does not include the additional committees that I'll be serving on. So those appointments will be coming out in the next few weeks, and I look forward to receiving those announcements when they come out.
Can't wait to be working with you. I'm so excited. So likewise. For our listeners unfamiliar with your story, take us back to the very beginning. Tell us about where you were born and what your family was like growing up.
Sure. So my family is actually from Cuba. My parents and grandparents immigrated. Well, they're actually political refugees. They left Cuba fleeing communism. Like many families in South Florida and throughout the country, Cubans are now all over the place. We're not just limited to Miami. And I think, when you grow up listening to the story over and over about how, your family had everything in Cuba, and when they got here, when they left their homeland, they literally had to leave everything behind. That really sticks with you, and it's something that resonates throughout your life. So I grew up listening to this throughout again since I was born. So it made a big impact in my work ethic and the fact that I was born in this country, but I don't take it for granted. I have a great appreciation for what my parents and grandparents did, leaving their homeland to come to a free country. And I always felt that it was one of my responsibilities, and it was incumbent upon me to give back to my community, not necessarily as an elected official. It wasn't something I always thought of doing or even imagined that I would do as a younger person. But I always like to give back by serving on boards and doing volunteer work. And so when the opportunity presented itself, actually 10 years ago in 2010, I ran for city council in the city of Doral, which is where I've lived for the last 15 years. And so when the opportunity came, I actually declined it a few times. The mayor of the city at the time, his name is JC Bermudez, asked me, and I said, JC, I don't want to give up my privacy. I don't, I know it's a very big commitment to be, an elected official. It has a lot of, I thought it had more negatives than positives. But after a few requests, I gave in to the ask, and I ran for city council, and I won my election. And then 4 years later, in 2014, I ran for re-election, and I was unopposed. To my surprise, I thought, wow, this is incredible. I didn't expect to be unopposed. And then my last year on the city council, which was 2018, I served as the vice mayor of my city. But now that's the same year that I ran for state representative, and that was a seat that was vacated by now Ambassador Carlos Trujillo. So he went on to do great things, and we're all very proud of him here in South Florida. And so I ran in his seat. And then in 2019, after I served my first session, I got a call from our Lieutenant Governor, Jeanette Nunez, who is a dear friend, and I've known her for many, many years, back in the day when she was an aide to a senator. And she said, Anna, I think you should consider running for Senator Flores' seat. And I said, well, I'm not really at all. My mind is not anywhere near, running for the Senate. I just got elected to the Florida House. And she said, I think this is a great opportunity for you. So I talked to my husband, I talked to my family, and we all agreed that, this was a good chance to serve in higher office. And so that's what we did. I filed my paperwork, and I really didn't talk much about my personal life, except for my parents coming from Cuba. But throughout the course of all those years, I went to school in Miami. I went to St. Teresa Catholic School from kindergarten through 8th grade. And then I went to Our Lady of Lourdes Academy, which is an all-girls Catholic high school. So I was raised like in a very, traditional, Catholic upbringing. And then I did my undergraduate studies at Florida International University. And then my master's is from Nova Southeastern University in Davie. And then a few years later, I met my husband. We got married. We've been married for 9+ years. And we have 2 small boys. Eros is 8 years old, and Hermes is going to be 7. So as you can imagine, my hands are quite full these days. And I also have 2 stepchildren, JC and Nina. Those are, so in total, we have four beautiful children that are the light of our lives.
But also keeping you very busy, as we can hear. They're home like the rest of us. We're home with our families, which can be trying at times. I'm sure you've experienced some of the same, to work and to have your children right nearby. So I understand, I've done a little bit of research on you, that your abuela was very important to you growing up. Can you tell us a little bit about her? Because my children live 4 houses away from their abuelita. They call her abuelita. They call her Abby. So tell us a little bit about your abuela.
So my kids actually call my mom Abby, and abuelo is my dad. And my grandmother, I had obviously 2 grandmothers, my dad's mom and my mom's mom. And I was close to both of them, but my mom's mom lived in our house with us. So my whole life, I would get home from school, and she would, make me do my homework and practice piano, because I took piano lessons forever. So, it was like the routine, eat your merienda, which is a snack in Spanish, and then do your homework, practice piano, take a bath, go to sleep, or eat dinner in that order. And it was just, she brought a lot of just warmth and discipline. My parents both worked. And to this day, my dad still works, and he's in his 70s. My mom retired this year. She's in her 60s. So that's the example I've always seen, is just, give back, work hard. Nothing's given to you. You're not entitled to anything. And so that's just, and my grandmother, when she came from Cuba, she didn't have, I think, more than like a 6th or 7th grade education. So, when she was here and she came from Cuba, she didn't have the opportunity to have like high level executive positions. She always worked like in a factory or worked as a waitress. So she had to like work hard for her tips and all the money that she earned just to put food on the table. So seeing that example of, humble, beginnings, humble upbringing, it really gave me a great appreciation for money, for earning a living. I started working when I was 16, and I think it had a lot to do with my grandmother and, of course, my parents' influence. But my grandmother was always a big supporter of, Anna Maria, wants something. Oh, let her get a job. Like, let her go out and make. And my parents were like, okay, she's 16, like she's really young. But it was great because it taught me how to multitask, which has helped me now as now I'm a state senator and I'm, like in a different stage of life. But having that work ethic from an early age really helps you become a successful professional as an adult. So I think that's important for everybody to try to have somebody like that, whether it's your grandmother or an older mentor, an aunt, uncle, or somebody, in your family, or just a friend of the family, but somebody that can help you just find that right path from an early age.
That's lovely. So, you talked about growing up in South Florida, and now you've continued to live and work there. How would your old friends describe the Anna Maria they knew in high school?
Well, I guess in high school, I was a little bit nerdy. I was the president of the library club, which I think is pretty nerdy. But, it was pretty telling for, kind of like where I was going. And, listen, I love cheerleading. I think cheerleaders are great. We all need cheerleaders to pep us up, right? But I wasn't a cheerleader. I wasn't really into sports. I was really... I got an A+. Like I got the award in my class for public speaking, which I think also is kind of foreshadowing of my future. I was always a little bit to myself. I was never cliquish. I was never like into like, I have to be with this group or that group. I was friends with everybody, but not part of a group. I was always like a lone wolf. And I think that kind of has set, and I think I'm still that way today, where I've maintained friendships since elementary school, but with all the groups, all the different cliques. So that's who I am. And I think, again, I'm still the same way.
You talked about, graduating from Florida International University with your degree, and we know that you went to graduate school. Did you go to graduate school right away, or did you work?
I actually worked for several years when I graduated from FIU. My career path actually started in Tallahassee when I worked for Bob Levy, the late Bob Levy. He was a great mentor and friend and a great lobbyist. He actually, his firm is still in existence with Jose Diaz, who's running his firm, Robert M. Levy and Associates. And so that gave me the groundwork and basically, I didn't really have a lot of knowledge of, what, the different levels of government, even though I obviously learned about it in high school and whatnot, but it wasn't something that I really took a big interest in when I was a university student.
So why did you decide to go back to school after working for a bit?
Well, part of the reason why I decided to go back to school is because after I left Robert M. Levy and Associates, I went to work for one of our clients, which is Baptist Health. I worked with Phyllis Oders for 6 years. And one of the benefits of working at Baptist was having the tuition reimbursement. And so we had a group of employees from Baptist who decided to pursue our master's degree. It was actually a master's in leadership. And so about 20 of us got together and we all went to Nova together and they literally paid for most of my master's degree, which is very unusual. I know a lot of companies talk about doing things like that, but Baptist Health actually did it. Like they actually reimbursed us for the vast majority of our tuition costs. And so that was a big impetus behind my decision to go back to school. The fact that I had my employer being so gracious and paying for the vast majority of my tuition.
That's amazing to have that kind of support. Mm-hmm. So you talked about, going into politics. Was there a moment or an experience that really solidified for you, hey, I want to focus on this and do this for a living? Was there a moment for you that happened?
I think it was when I met Bob. I had, again, my career up until that point had been really just going to school because I was a student at FIU, but I was also working at Delta Airlines. So I actually considered a career with Delta Airlines after graduating from FIU, which would have required me to move to Atlanta and just relocate my entire life. So my career path really changed dramatically when I met him, because that made me want to stay in Florida and really just get more involved in government affairs. And then again, from that point, I never thought I was going to run for office. It was more, how can I help people? How can I make a difference as an advocate for causes that I believe in, and for clients that I believe are worth helping with certain issues and whatnot. So that's really where it all started in the year 2001, to be exact.
Let's take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will get some election advice from you.
Sure.
At Rocket Ship Consultants, our mission is to take your organization to the next level. Our team develops strategic communication plans that help entrepreneurs, corporations, associations, and individuals reach new heights. Our consulting team is made up of attorneys with additional experience in journalism, public relations, politics, broadcasting, and advocacy. Let us help you take that dream you have for a podcast or video show and make it into a reality. We can create networking opportunities, educational forums, and interactive conferences to spread your message. Let our team provide you with fresh ideas and inspiration. Rocket Ship Consultants offers a variety of services, so check out our website at rocketshipconsultants.com. Take off with Rocket Ship Consultants and launch your organization with us. Welcome back. Our guest today is Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez, a Florida legislator representing parts of Miami-Dade County and Monroe County. So after working on the Doral City Council, I know that was your first elected position. What prompted you to run for the Florida House of Representatives? You talked about doing it in 2018. Was there something that sort of nudged you in that direction?
Well, actually, the incumbent at the time, which was Ambassador Trujillo, he was a friend and a colleague who I had a tremendous appreciation for. And no one else up until that point had decided that they wanted to throw their hat in the ring. And so I was like approaching the end of my term as a council member. And I thought, well, do I want to keep doing this? And not only public service, but the fact that I would have to go to Tallahassee and be away from my children and from my husband and my work responsibilities. I do work professionally full time with the Miami Association of Realtors. And so, that was a decision that I had to consult, with my employer, with my family, and they were all 100% on board, just like the decision to run for the Senate. It was the same thing. Everybody's like, but of course you should do it. You're a natural, you love serving, it gives you life, it gives you energy. And so everybody that I consulted with, in my inner circle, agreed that it was the right thing to do. And I really can't do it without their support. I just want to reiterate that because, we all have a village that kind of carries us and helps us, get through all these different moments. And so I couldn't do it without them. So I needed to be sure that my home front was in good hands before making that leap to run for office. And so that's kind of how it all, happened.
You've successfully run for various elected positions. What advice would you give to someone, especially women, sitting on the sidelines considering a run for office?
Well, my advice to any woman or any person who wants to run is try to always remain focused on your message and what you want your voters to hear, which is, what you're going to accomplish for them. And at the end of the day, that's really what voters want to know. And I think people will vote for you based on your effort to get that message to them and not attack your opponent. I know that sometimes people think, oh, well, politics is always negative and, it's always going to be, like a food fight. And I don't disagree. It gets pretty, it's a contact sport, but as a candidate, you have a choice to either engage in that type of behavior or have a different type of campaign. And I think a lot of it is based on your personality. And so when I met with the different folks from Senate campaigns and, my own campaign team, we had a meeting about a year and a half ago, and just to kind of like set the lay of the land and what was ahead of us. And one of the first things I told them was, I don't want to go negative on my opponent. And they were like, what do you mean? And I said, I don't want to go negative on my opponent. They said, but that's like, you have to, it's going to happen at some point. I said, okay, but let's wait as long as possible, because I don't want that to be what permeates the environment of my race. I want my race to be about what I'm going to accomplish, my track record as a council member and as a state representative, all the great things that I got done for my community. That's what I want to stand out. And sure enough, I have received countless compliments from people who not only live in my district, but those who don't live in my district, because my commercials were on network TV. A lot of people saw my messaging, and they all said the same thing. They all said, Anna, we're so proud of the way your campaign was managed and the fact that you kept it positive. And so that would be my advice to a future candidate, is don't feel like you have to be like every other candidate. That is not true. Be yourself, and that will shine through, and people will see who you really are, as long as you're authentic and just be genuine when you're conveying your messaging.
Some great advice there. So for our listeners that have never held elected office, can you share with us what you find is the most fun part of your job as an elected official?
I think the funnest part is just all the people that want to talk to you and meet with you. And I love people. Like I think being a people person, going back to your previous question about running for office, and I think you have to you have to enjoy people and serving people and have a servant's heart. So I think for me, the best part is when I can help somebody actually get something resolved, whether it's an appropriation request, which is obviously a big lift nowadays. I think particularly next session is going to be very hard to get appropriations over the finish line. But just when you're in a position to help people and you can actually get results and say, oh, look, we actually got this thing taken care of, that to me, that's the greatest satisfaction.
You will be serving as senator for the first time this session, but you've served in the Florida legislature for a number of years now. Many of the same issues pop up year after year. Are there any issues that just cause you heartburn, that the mere mention of the issue just makes you tense or fires you up?
Well, there's a lot of issues that cause that sensation of just, I think particularly when we hear about issues, for example, that I've had to vote on, like the sanctuary city bill, when I hear about, people that want to create safe spaces for criminals in our state, and safe spaces for people. And listen, it's to me, I think you could be pro-immigrant, but also pro-Floridians and pro-US citizens. I don't think it's a binary choice. But I think when people put you in a position to vote on things that they try to create an impression that you're something that you're not, is very, very unpleasant. And so for me, as a child of Cubans, and my husband's from Colombia, so it's not like we're foreign to immigrants in our family. It's very heartbreaking when people try to paint me as anti-immigrant, because the truth of the matter is I just want safety in our state. I want people to feel like they can live here in a free and safe environment and not worry about, if somebody tries to kill me or tries to, rape me or hurt my family, they're going to just walk the streets free. That to me is unacceptable. And those are topics that I'm not willing to budge on. And so, we're constantly being put in very awkward and very difficult positions because of certain agendas by certain people. But I think when you run for office and you're lucky enough to get elected by your constituents, you have to have the moral fiber to make tough decisions and just, just let the chips fall where they may. But you have to be a person of character when you are in these situations, when you have to vote on difficult topics.
Now, I know you have 2 young children at home and a
Mhm, mhm,
husband. We could
mhm.
hear your kids for a little bit of this podcast. Tell us
Mhm.
about them.
So my husband is, as I mentioned, he's from Colombia. His name is Clemente, and he is just a terrific man. We've been married for almost 10 years. And together we have our 4 kids, and our 2 small ones are in first grade and second grade, Eros and Hermes. And they are just wonderful boys. We're adjusting to virtual classes today because yesterday we found out that one of my son's classmates tested positive for COVID. So everybody in the classroom was required to go home. And here we are. We're all home, just working and going to school and multitasking. So it's it's been quite interesting to say the least. We already experienced this obviously in March when session ended and our children basically were sent home for the last 2 months of school, and then during the beginning portion of this school year, we experienced it in August and part of September. But it's really difficult, and I want to say for people who can't work from home, there are a lot of people out there who are working in their jobs, and their employer does not let them get, they don't have that flexibility where if they're in customer service or certain positions that require you to be physically present at your workplace. It makes it very difficult for Floridians to find childcare. Like, who's gonna homeschool your child if the school sends them home, and like you don't have a parent or a relative that can help you with that. So I sympathize with a lot of people right now who are going through this. Again, I'm blessed that I can actually work from home and also help them with their classes, but it's not a lot of people that can do that. So I think we're actually chartering through very interesting waters right now, and hope that we get through this very quickly and that a vaccine is released in the near future.
Amen to that. We're experiencing some of the same issues here at
Mhm.
my house with
Mhm.
children being sent home and now just having to quarantine while we wait. So anyway,
Yeah.
this summer during the pandemic, I noticed that you posted lots of pictures on your social media regarding food banks. You were often in these
Yes.
photos working in the Florida hot sun and passing out food to
Yeah.
families in need. What did you learn from that experience?
It was a very interesting experience, and we're actually still doing food distributions. I did one actually last week. I did several last week. One of the things is that a lot of people may have returned to work, but there are a lot of other people who are underemployed, where they're not working the same number of hours that they were working before the pandemic. For example, we have a lot of people in the restaurant industry or in the hotel industry. Miami particularly has lots of tourism. That's one of the main, aspects of our economy. And so, when you hear about people who are just working like 20 hours instead of 40 hours, that's half of your income is slashed. And, those people need to put food on their tables. And so when you're, faced with, okay, I have to pay my rent, I have to buy food, I have to make a car payment, I have to put gas in my car, like you start to like look at all your priorities. And if there's one thing we could take off your plate, so to speak, and just help you out with that, we try to do that. And again, we're doing it up until this day. We are still out there in the community helping with food distributions. And, I post them all on my social media, like you said. So if anybody in South Florida is still needing food assistance, please follow my social media pages. I post them every day. And there's also a website with Feeding South Florida, Farm Share, and Truly Local Cares. There's various food distribution organizations that are out there to help out.
What are you hoping to accomplish for the constituents in your district this year?
Well, that's a great question. Every part of my district has a different concern or issue. In the Keys right now, what I'm hearing a lot is regarding sea level rise, and when the king tide comes, you've got cars that have difficulty. They can't even drive through this salt water because it causes problems for their vehicles. So the fact that we have areas in Monroe County that are suffering every time there's a king tide occurrence, that is disturbing. And that's something that I would like to help get some funding to elevate roads, to create pump stations to help extract the water, when these things happen. So that's going to be one of my priorities. And then, of course, affordable housing is a tremendous challenge, in the Florida Keys. So that's something I would like to focus on as well. We were very fortunate last session where we actually got full funding for Sadowski, which is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And that's something that hasn't happened in a very long time. But then lo and behold, we ended up having COVID. But thankfully, I want to say, if there's anything I'd like to continue seeing in the next session is full funding for Sadowski, as I believe that's something that has a tremendous impact on our affordable housing in our state.
We like to end our show with a little fun by asking all of our guests the same 7 questions. Okay. What would people be surprised to know about you?
Okay. I was a Miss Florida contestant when I was much younger. I was, it was about 22 years ago. I was in the Miss Florida pageant. I wasn't a runner-up. I wasn't a finalist. I was just a contestant, but it was a great experience for me because pageantry, for as, some people may think it's not a serious endeavor to endure in your life. I think pageantry gives you a lot of discipline, and it gives you poise and the proper posture to present yourself, to speak, to just talk, and then obviously how to dress for all occasions. You try to be appropriate for the event, and so I think that pageantry gave me a good footing in a lot of different aspects of my life.
I did not know that about you.
Oh, there you go.
When you have guests in town, where is your favorite place to take them?
So my husband loves to cook. And so he prepares the most extravagant meals you'll ever imagine. Like just even something simple could become really elaborate because he just has a great imagination. So we usually don't go out to dinner that much. Even when we have guests in town, we prepare a nice meal for them and make sure that my thing, I don't cook. So I like to put lots of pretty linens and crystal and silver, and I have a very nice table setting. So that's something I enjoy, preparing for our guests.
You guys make a great team.
Yes, we do.
What is the name of a book you recently read that you could not put down, or the name of a show you enjoyed binge watching?
So I'm actually reading a book right now called The Compound Effect. And it's funny because it literally talks about how I've lived my entire life, which is just, success isn't about one big action that you take in your life. It's about small incremental steps that you do on a daily basis. And it's just about living your life a certain way so that it uses a 27-month period as the timeline to see change. But in my life, I'm 43 years old, and I feel like my entire life has been leading up to where I am now. And I think it's about one of the tips that I use from the book, which I've already implemented in my life, is writing things down, writing everything down that you want to do like on a given day, or setting goals on paper so that those things manifest themselves. Because if you don't write things down, it's like, it's just an idea. It's not something that you actually make happen. So my advice from The Compound Effect, the book that I'm reading, to those that are watching this podcast is to just write down your goals and the things that you want to do, even if it's just on a daily basis, but at least it'll help you get to where you need to go.
Among your close family and friends, what are you best known for?
What am I best known for? I don't know. I guess being laser focused, like I think my family knows me as being just like, when I want to do something, I just laser focus, and that's it. And like, you can't get me off something. Once my head's made up, I'm on my way.
If you have a nickname, who gave it to you?
I have a nickname. When I was a kid, my brother called me Anna Banana, just because it rhymes. But I don't really think anybody calls me that, like in my adult life, obviously, because that would be weird. But yeah, that was Anna Banana.
If you knew you could not fail, what would you attempt?
I don't think I can fail. I mean, I know that sounds, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I feel like anything you put your mind to and that you really try hard at, you can achieve. So I don't think there's anything I can't do. I just have to really set my mind to it and figure out the game plan. So I think the sky's the limit.
I agree with that mindset. Last question. What are the top 3 things you love about living in Florida?
The top 3 things are our tax structure. I think the fact that, we don't pay income tax is just wonderful and needs to be preserved. So as the chair of the Finance and Tax Committee, I plan to keep things in that vein. The other thing I love about Florida is our weather. Even though we have hurricanes, I know, but at least you can plan when a hurricane's coming, it's coming. If you lived in another state where it was earthquakes, you can't plan earthquakes. So I'd rather know what's coming and plan for it than not. And then the other thing I love about Florida is the coastlines, the beaches, just, so many states in our country are landlocked, and we have so much such long coastlines that I feel sometimes we take it for granted, and we shouldn't, because not every state has as much of that as we do. So,
well, Senator Rodriguez, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you, Rosanna. I really appreciate it. And I wish everyone a wonderful day. And my office is open to anyone that wants to come speak with me about any issue, and in any way I can help them as well.
I'm really looking forward to working with you this session.
Me too. Thank you.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on all your favorite podcasting listening platforms. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Visit our website to see some extras regarding this episode. Our audio editor for this podcast episode is Joy Tootle with Rocket Ship Consultants. If you're interested in sponsoring our podcast or would like to suggest a future guest, please email me at feedback@thefloridaville.com. Thanks for tuning in.